Welcome, my beautiful souls, and welcome, my um, fellow twin flamers. This is our twin flame reading. It's interesting. I can hear doves right outside my window, and they're distracting me, but they're singing to us, and they're doves. And don't doves mate for life? I don't know. It just feels special. So I had to tell you about it. I don't know if the um, audio will pick it up or not. So, anyways, this reading, let me explain what we're going to do, and then let me tell you some special little things. So, in this reading, which I had planned on doing days ago, and I kept saying I got to do twin flame reading, but then today I sat down, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do the twin flame reading. And then as I was pre-shuffling my cards, I thought to myself, didn't Venus just move into Taurus? Venus, who governs romantic love, abundance, and wealth, moved into Taurus today. And that's a good thing. Like, I feel like this was the day I was meant to do your reading. Um, so Taurus, or I mean, Venus going into Taurus, really what it means, from my understanding, is this invites us to like ground into our bodies, our senses and our sensuality. And it's interesting because it's like when I did the monthly readings, there were two signs, which I'm not even going to say right now, that had the word sensuality in it. And again, I find myself saying it. So, hmm. And one of them is the fixed sign. Um, so this is really a time where you want to ask yourself, like, how do you value yourself also? Um, because, it feels like you might be inviting love in. So, are you ready? Do you feel worthy? All those things are important. So the fixed signs that might be, let's say, touched a little bit more would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, as well as Libra, because Libra is governed by Venus. So romantic love, romantic love. And of all days, to choose to do the twin flame, it's like, now I know why. Like I always feel like my intuition guides me. And now I know why today was the day. So what we're going to do is this, these readings are longer. But this is because we're looking at everyone's perspective. We're going to read the divine masculine, what's going on with the divine masculine. And then we're going to read the divine feminine. And then we're going to connect them. Many times they connect themselves, and but then I like to do a line of cards right between them, and to me that's the true connection. It always blows me away, to be honest. I did bring out the major arcanas. I'm still like not certain what I want to do with them yet. Maybe I'll give each one, see what's kind of governing them, so to speak, and then we'll use the Gilded Tarot to clarify. So we're looking at the divine masculine's current energy, the divine feminine's current energy, any blocks, whatever it wants to tell us, what's going on. Um, and then we'll connect them with the Gilded Tarot. And then I have a few other decks ready, in case we need them. So for the divine masculine, I am using the Universal Tarot. For the divine feminine, I am using the Light Seers Tarot. And then I feel like for the major arcanas, I just want to give them both one. So what I'm going to do is a couple shuffles. I want to do a cut. All right, I'm getting them too. It just felt like that. It's interesting. I've been wanting to do a tarot course forever, and I finally began, and I did an intro video yesterday. It was actually a podcast, but I talked about how putting your hand over the cards, often, if you allow yourself, you can feel like the energy, and that helps you choose. That's the way I look at it. All right, so each of them have two, and I feel like let's go ahead and bring the lid down. I did pick some fresh roses for the reading. I should put on my, it's too far away. I was going to say my rose quartz, but it's in the room. All right, so interesting. We have Hierophant, card of Taurus, with the Death card of Scorpio. And both these signs are being affected. And I say affected, but I mean it in a good way. But I'm not really reading these as signs. So, the Hierophant is first, and it's number 5. So 5 talks about change. So what kind of change is being asked here? Well, I feel like what it wants is, or let's just say you probably had someone interesting. Like all of a sudden, I'm thinking the month of May, like really looking within, maybe making like real decisions according to, like the ultimate goal. Um, asking oneself, am I living my life in a good way? Or am I just living it for me? So the Death card talks about a closing of a chapter, closing of a door, but it's the promise of a new door opening. So we shouldn't fear the Death card. Chapters end. You know what I mean? Chapters end. And this could talk about something that is ending within the masculine's energy. By the way, it can go either way. Like you can be the masculine and be female, because I'm often in my masculine energy. You know what I mean? So I feel like the best thing is just to you'll find yourself in in the reading, and well, your reading. And I feel like you can certainly even ask your guides, like, to make it even clearer for you, like, make it jump off the page. So, anyways, I feel like the masculine has been just questioning life in general, Noel. No, on a deeper level, maybe deeper than normal. And it does feel like, about the ending of a chapter. It goes from a 5, I was going to say to a 10, but actually it's 13. That's right. All right. Put them up here, and let's go ahead and open up the masculine's energy. I do playlists on my channel. So, like, if you go under playlist and let's say you want, like, you know, like sometimes past life readings also will really help you see, like, what you're going through. And anybody tells you that a twin flame relationship is meant to be easy, it's not telling you the truth. We really are each other's greatest teachers. And sometimes that comes with the deepest of reflections. And sometimes we don't like what we see in the mirror. You know what I mean? But it really is an opportunity to heal it. That's the ultimate goal. It almost feels like enlightenment. like each being able to create that enlightenment, where worries just seem to disappear. Hmm, I don't know. Sounds a little magical. All right. We have interesting, the Two of Pentacles. So it's kind of a question mode. We'll slide this spread over once we're done. Um, I mean, it's will always be part of the reading. So I'm not surprised to see like a question come up because that's exactly where I felt like the masculine was like in that type of reflection. Interesting how it's split. It's almost like two roads, two paths I can go down. Hmm. Well, let's take what's closest. We have the Queen of Swords. We have the Ace of Wands. Hmm. We have the Three of Swords. And I'm just doing three across. I almost feel like this person feels like if I spoke the truth, they may be in a relationship or, some type of connection. I feel like what they want to avoid is breaking someone's heart. It doesn't feel like that it's for those who are here. I feel like that's what the Ace of Wands is. It's like the beginning of something, it's action oriented, but the masculine is questioning that. And I feel like the Three of Swords is really, you know, like really, I feel like this is a good thing because it feels compassionate, like I don't want to break someone's heart. Um, but some of you may be sitting here like, yeah, but my heart's broken. One, two, three, it's go time. Hmm. Five of Swords. Interesting. Under the Queen of Swords. Wow. It's interesting because at first I did feel like it was coming from a place of compassion. Like, I don't want to break this person's heart. And now I see that this person is also connected to some toxic energy. You know, you could just talk about, like, you know, sometimes you end up in like a relationship and then years later you're like, how the hell did I get here? Right? It just feels like, well, this is toxicity, but it feels like the communication, like, like I know, like I feel like someone is thinking to themselves, I know exactly how to get them right where it hurts the most. So interesting. So it does feel like it took a turn. Now we have these two fives, one at the Hierophant. I feel like this person's got like their foot out the door, to be honest. And then look at the swords connected to the Queen of Swords, which can be an air sign, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to really read the signs because I feel like it's more about your story. And her sword is up, so she feels aggressive. And then you put the Five of Swords below her, and we're looking at really the masculine's energy right now. What's mirroring each other is this question, and then this ace, should I go? I feel like they want to. We have the Hangman. Hmm. We have, interesting, the Eight of Swords. But then we have the Death card. Wow. And I feel like I'm just going to take the very top card. We have the Page of Cups. I'm just going to say, I feel like this is the feminine's, like, like for some of you, it could have been years and years ago. But what a difference of energy, I want to say. Number one, what is Venus going to Taurus asking? It's really your own truth, right? Your own senses. What are you feeling? And it looks like the masculine is not, first of all, feeling this connection. Um, but yet for some reason, like feels stuck there. I'm not really seeing kids. You know what I mean? Like, and then the Eight of Swords, self-created prison. It's kind of what I was feeling about this relationship. Like, sometimes you just end up in something, you know? And that's what I feel here. And then I feel like the day came where it's like, what the hell? What the hell am I doing? But there's this fear here. I get it because this person feels, and this is not to put the blame on this person because I really feel like it's probably both of them. But I feel like things just, well, I don't feel like they're compatible. I just don't feel like they're compatible. It's like everywhere there's movement, then there's like this pause in the action. Why? Well, it's making that ultimate choice. It's dealing with it, whatever I have to deal with. And then the Hierophant, like, no need to be cruel, right? But also, I feel like five is about freedom. And if you uncreate the walls of the Eight of Swords, it's all about freedom. And it's really freedom to be oneself, free to be who I am. But here, and this is who they are too, but this is like, this is someone who, well, I feel like they bring out each other's shadow side. And maybe it was a lesson. Maybe this person, maybe it will serve who's ever watching or whoever they're, I don't know, the feminine is, let's say. Maybe really it's going to serve you because it's almost like let the masculine deal with this kind of like bullshit. And even the hangman is seeking wisdom. I feel like the death card, it's the only answer. It's the only answer. I'm either going to do it or this will be my life. It's kind of how, interesting. We have a five right in the middle. Change. There could be a marriage because I feel like whatever is blocking this person, I don't know if it has to do with their morals or if, some people are just uncomfortable within change. But I 100% feel like this person, like, they know where they're at. They know what they're in, and it's like, damn, how did I end up here? Well, you chose to end up there. That's how you ended up there, and it's just being honest with oneself. Okay. Well, now I choose to go. I don't know. I just feel like they got to deal with what they got to deal with. Let's see who's on the bottom of the deck. Look at this, temperance, patience, interesting, but then divine timing. And that might be the case. Maybe there is a right time. First of all, I feel like they have to realize that they're not stuck in this cage, this illusionary energy. That they can be free. They just have to ultimately, grab onto that wand and let it be. Let it be. Because I feel like there's no sense of fighting, yelling, screaming. It just feels like we're not compatible. We never will be, right? There could have been like romance and all that in the beginning. But, anyways, temperance on the bottom of the deck. Fine timing. So this person might be feeling it more than ever. And just the day that I chose to do the reading, there feels like I don't know, there feels something special about it. Interesting, Page of Pentacles on the bottom. Okay, we're going to slide this over. And then we're going to do the feminine. I actually want a little bit more room. And then we will connect them. But let's look at the feminine's energy. That's the thing with twin flames is I feel like there's like different what do I want to say? Like different paths that each wants to go down, right? Different experiences that each wants to experience. And it doesn't mean all easy. Usually it means, look at her just sticking out there. Usually it means, how do we know what I was talking about? My focus is right here. Look at this. Queen of Swords. Interesting. Is it the same queen? Well, this Queen of Swords is down. And she feels like someone who enjoys nature. Like finds it healing. This is where I may do some of my best thinking. Now, it doesn't have to mean nature. It could be like solitude, right? When I'm alone is when, and I know this energy because when I'm alone is when I like just receive epiphanies. Anyway, she does look like she's thinking about something now. We have the star. She's thinking about her hopes, her dreams, her wishes. How can I manifest them? How can I manifest them? Justice. Some may be in the exact same type of situation. Card of Libra, by the way. Stars card of Aquarius. 5. Justice is about balance. She may need to cut like her own ties, but she's very like, I feel kind of chilled out. And it's almost like she's daydreaming. We have the Queen of Wands. She's looking back. Almost she's looking back at the hangman like, what's up? Queen of Wands to me is the Queen of Action. So, the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands can be the same person. And often I feel that. Sometimes someone thinking, reflecting, interesting, her jeans are ripped. It reminds me of like the 70s. Just the sandals she has on. So she could be thinking back. But it does feel like she's daydreaming. But then this queen is the Queen of Action. Okay, well. Hello, Ten of Pentacles under the star. That makes sense, right? If I'm going to wish for something. In a twin flame reading, I wish for the Ten of Cups, please. And then look who's there. The King of Cups. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's interesting because the King of Cups and the Queen of Swords are both sitting by water. So even though they're different signs, so to speak, they're both like, they're both soothed by the same type of energy, let's say. They may be daydreaming about each other. But maybe justice is saying nothing really happened until, the scales are balanced. But boy, I feel like they're thinking about each other. And I feel like they're both seeing, maybe visualizing the Ten of Cups and all it can be. This queen might be thinking to herself, I wonder what it would have been like had we stayed together, let's say, if you were together. But, maybe you weren't meant to. Maybe you were just meant to meet at that moment and then go experience what each of you needed to experience. Maybe it just wasn't meant to work past then. Doesn't mean, it's impossible. Listen, my life, that's what my life is, right? 40 years after I met Sam is when we came together. Again, and I'll be honest, like it's loving and boy, he's such a loving but man's man, which I appreciate. But it doesn't mean we like still don't have like I noticed that we still hold the mirror up to each other. It's funny, we got an argument the other day. I mean, it wasn't anything big, but I came in my office where it's where I always go. Um, and he came, knocked like 5 minutes later. I opened the door and I thought he was coming to apologize. And I looked at him and he's like, well, you gonna apologize? I'm like, what? Thought you came in here to apologize. But we worked it out. I guess what I'm saying is, you know, it's not an easy journey, but I don't feel it was meant to be easy. And mm, Five of Swords, mirroring the Queen of Swords. And then we have the Seven of Wands, standing one's ground against some type of toxic energy. Person in the Seven of Wands feels like she's in state of Zen. And then we have, interesting, she's got her eyes closed also. Queen of Pentacles. Just her headdress makes me think of lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. I feel like that these, let's just say twin flames here today, I feel like there's this connection beyond, which I already know, like beyond the physical. And it's interesting the Ten of Cups is in the middle of the feminine's reading. Five of Swords is in the middle of the masculine's reading. Five of Swords now showing up in the feminine's. But it's almost like, for some of you, you may know this exists. And there may be a, like, no, this first, then, then we shall begin. Okay. We have, Queen of Cups on the bottom of the deck. I like this key she's wearing. She's connecting to above. That's the one thing I want to say. There's a lot of energy I feel of connection, like connecting beyond, let's just say. All right, I'm going to slide these here. Let's bring the masculine back in. What did I do with the feminine's two top cards? That's interesting. I don't know where they went. All right. Let's bring in the Gilded Tarot, and let's start by going right down the middle. Let's go ahead and connect this energy. I feel like the feminine, I feel like she's in the type of energy right now where, you know, all being told, I feel like she's feeling pretty good. Like, I feel she's very open creatively. She's very open creatively. But also feel this connection of like being open to energy, period. So for some of you, you may be an energy reader. Some of you just don't know it yet, or you just need to trust it. Like, you walk into a room and you can feel someone's energy. I say this to Sam all the time. I'm like, you carry the kind of energy that when you walk in a room, it's almost like, all right, who's going to mess with me? Even though he's the most tender of men, and I don't think he knows that. But I see people reacting to it. So anyway, he's definitely teaching me to be more tender with us being Virgo, but he's Virgo moon also. So he's definitely teaching that. All right, let's connect them. Oh, again, I just get the sense of the feminine, like almost insisting, whether it be energetically or actually saying this, like, yes, I do want you to take care of your shit first. Doesn't mean she doesn't have any. We have interesting. So, hello, Destiny. Well, I feel like if we had any doubt, now we don't. Oh, well, hello, sun. Beautiful. The Illuminator. Maybe it is Venus going into Taurus. Maybe it is illuminating romantic connections, especially those you can no longer deny. The sun can certainly speak about a playful time. I often think of like children out playing in the yard. Um, I love it next to the wheel. It's like it's illuminating. And I do feel both are in that state of, if nothing else, I feel like being very honest with themselves. All right. Oh my God. With the Four of Wands. Well, this is the marriage card. This is the connection. This is love. This is true commitment. And who knows, maybe it took to this time or whatever it takes. And then we have the Queen of Wands. It's interesting because it's almost like a ceremony, and she's lighting the flame that opens up the ceremony. Interesting. Maybe it's a wedding ceremony. Maybe it's a wedding ceremony. Maybe this Queen of Wands is telling the Queen of Swords, just trust your intuition because it's being illuminated. And it's speaking about destiny. It just is. And true connection. Wondering justice. Is this her? Does she need justice? Balance? She feels balanced, to be honest, but that doesn't mean everything's going perfect. Because I do feel like she is wishing, with the star right there, for the Ten of Cups, no doubt. Let's just say if she's in something right now, it feels like there's resistance, and it may simply be like almost the same thing because both having the Five of Swords, but I don't feel like it's bothering the Queen so much. It's almost like she's learned to shut it out. Like, I just shut it out. But it's not really the way I want to live, right? I can shut it out, great, but. And she knows that because she is thinking about the Ten of Cups. I don't feel like she has it yet, but it's a wish. All right. So we're going to go right across because at this point, we're definitely energetically connected. Maybe not physically yet. We have the King of Swords. Ten of Swords. Man, I'm sorry. She's just looking worse and worse. And then we have the Nine of Wands. So that's exactly what I felt. This is really reflecting back. But this is like remembering every wand, but looking at it in a way that it's an accomplishment. It's something I've overcome. It's something I've accomplished. Maybe you're one of those wands and it's coming right over the Ace of Wands. I feel like, uh, you know, And it could be this queen too. I don't feel like these are the same queens. I'm just gonna say that. Um, because if it is, I feel like there's just no compatibility. And now the Ten Swords over here are over her. Wow. That's just like over and over and over again. Maybe this person was given three separate chances. But it's not because they feel like I wanted to. It's almost like I feel like I had to. This person could have been a narcissist, and certainly, like, that type of energy does tend to draw you in. I mean, they pretend they are what they aren't. I can feel them. No, hmm, no. I thought I could feel those two cards. Where did those two cards go? Oh well, maybe we weren't meant to see them. We have the moon. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. Some more. Interesting because we have the sun and the moon, which is the feminine and the masculine. And what is connecting them? The wheel. This queen, I don't know if she's waiting for this person or if she's just like thinking of this person. But I feel like this person's also thinking of her. I just don't know if they know it. You know, they both clearly want some type of change because, again, the queen is like almost daydreaming and she does have justice, so it may speak of needing to cut certain ties. And the only thing really negative I see here is the Five of Swords. So it'd be easy to spot that. What's toxic, what is not. Sometimes it's our own thoughts. Sometimes it's just our own thoughts. Maybe the moon representing uncertainty. Like when. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell when, because I feel like it's important it each goes through. And sometimes I think you just have to know that you are connected, even when you're not. Hmm. Not trying to, be a Debbie Downer all of a sudden. The moon also going to be very dreamy energy. And the sun is very illuminating, warm, dreamy, warm, and take that into the Four of Wands, my favorite love card, with the sun above it. Wow. Five of Wands. Okay, so it does feel like maybe she is getting some resistance. Maybe someone is giving her resistance. Maybe it has to do with, what she's dreaming about. It's interesting because the Five of Swords is toxic. And I feel like toxic in many different ways over here. But here it feels like it's more ego based. Well, I feel that over here too. Um, but I don't find, I feel like I don't find what I'm searching for in the Five of Wands. That's probably why I said about Sam coming in and saying, "Are you going to apologize?" And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, I thought he came in to apologize." You know what I mean? But though I'm saying that, I don't want to think. I don't want you to think we're in our ego like that all the time. Um, because this feels like it's probably something that happens often. It could be This queen is having a realization of what's coming between her and her dreams. And it is good to put oneself first. Am I happy? Or am I just staying put because it's what I'm used to? For a lot of people, change is not easy. So if you're in a relationship and then you leave, I mean, it's a big change. But look at this Five of Swords. So interesting. Interesting. Two fives equals that 10. Boom, 10. They could both be dealing with similar situations. But I feel like the queen is like, she's willing to go through the energy of justice. Ultimately, it's about making you whole again. And these fives are kind of taking away. And I feel like she's thought long and hard about it. This isn't like, by the whim of my hands, this is like me thinking, reflecting, but being honest too. Remember, the sun, it illuminates everything. And stand your ground. Well, now I get it. But don't stand your ground to the point of, waiting for this apology, because I feel like in the Five of Wands, chances of getting it are slim to none. But the truth is, it's like you don't need it. And then here's the Queen of Wands. Interesting, she's pointing to the sun, and the Queen of Wands here is lighting the torch. Okay. We have the Page of Swords over the Three of Swords. I feel like that's talking about the communication. Can I say though, real quick? I feel over here. I do want to say I feel the feminine, whether it be a dream or something you're already doing. It has to do with your wisdom, but it feels like, spiritual wisdom, but also earthly wisdom. And it feels like whether you're doing something or you've been dreaming of doing it, maybe it's from the home, but maybe you've gotten resistance. I feel like, because it does kind of feel like it's blocking your dream, but doesn't have to. That's what I'm saying. All right. I'm not surprised to see the Page of Swords there. Um, because it often talks about, communication at the time. And it's coming over the Three of Swords. Hello, Queen of Cups. Well, she's different. Here's the King of Cups right there. They're in the same line. Hello, Empress. Beautiful. And then the Seven of Pentacles, what was always meant to be. Seven of Pentacles, its first message, as is Temperance, is patience. And it speaks about like seeds that are being planted or seeds that have been planted, and they need time, right? They need to be nourished, watered, but they need time to come to harvest. The Empress knows that. It's interesting because I feel like this is a progression of like Queen of Cups, where I feel like it is two people potentially thinking about each other, but I feel like the feminine is showing. So to me that means she's cleared a lot of energy. Like this is exactly what I'd want to see, and I love it coming over the sun. And then you put her with the Queen of Pentacles, where I feel like many of you are taking this wisdom, and it may be like your own journey. But it's got a spiritual hang to it at least. But this is, the Empress is not afraid to create. And maybe that's what I want. I want the freedom to create, but it's been blocked. It feels like not anymore. I feel like it's not, love, yes, but I don't feel like it's the only thing the Empress has been working on. And by the way, I want to say the feminine now reaching the Empress's status. Wow. The Emperor and the Empress to me are like the twin flames. So we'll see if the Emperor comes out. It feels like the masculine because his queen is holding a cup and she's just completely the coloring, the energy around her is completely different than what this masculine is used to. So this could certainly talk about you living within their heart. You may have helped them um, during times of struggle and don't even know it. They may have called on your energy. Interesting. We have High Priestess, speaking of calling on one's energy, that is your intuition. And interesting, it's mirroring the Page of Swords, where that is communication, but it feels like it's at this moment more of like spiritual communication, let's say. Could be reaching one in their dreams. But Seven of Pentacles means that there's a seed that's coming to fruition, if not one, you know, more than one, because the star is right here. And with Temperance or the Empress being out now, I feel like she's ready. Like she trusts her intuition. Her intuition seems illuminated, but it does feel about like the feminine's goals and dreams also. Like I don't want to take that off the table because I feel like that's an important component to her. Like the healer. Oh my gosh, look at that. So soulmates, right? But twin flame soulmates. And look at them eye to eye, soul to soul, over the king cups. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? It's almost like I can't help but feel this energy. Doesn't mean it was easy. It feels like anything but easy. But doable? Yes. All right, we have the death card over the Eight of Swords. That's got to go. right? I got to close that chapter. 8 is about a new beginning, but it's also setting oneself free. So I'm very happy the death card just showed. We have temperance now over the death card. So that feels like divine timing. And it has begun. The torch has been lit. And look at this, the Ace of Pentacles. Wow. I don't want to give you false hope at all. But the Ace of Pentacles to me talks about what's coming into your physical world. And it may begin as a seed. And a lot of times you'll see this, like in the psychic tarot, you'll see two hands that are nurturing a seed. They're two separate hands. They're like the feminine and the masculine. But interesting that the feminine, the Empress, is coming over the sun. But anyways, hello, Ace of Pentacles. And also mirroring the wheel. Look at this, the Six of Cups. So, wow, wow. I'm saying wow because I feel like this queen and this king both have been doing the same thing. It's like when they're going through their struggles, I have a feeling that, maybe daydreaming, but I also feel like at night, their, I want to say their heart goes back. And Six of Cups is representing beautiful energy, whether it be past lives or even every life, though. In a way, I want to leave that out because I don't feel like every life. Um, Butterflies. It's funny, I was watching a movie. I can't think of the movie's name, but a butterfly landed on her finger, and it was a sign that, one of her loved ones who had crossed over right there with her. And here I am seeing that butterfly. The Three of Cups. Joy, celebration. I think we'll take Mother Mary over these messages. And then where we started, we end. The Hierophant. Look at the light. It's like the blessing. It's the opposite of the Five of Swords. Also mirroring the Death card. And we opened with the Hierophant looking at the Death card. But now the Death card is looking at the Hierophant. I did it. But that seems to get the ball rolling. There's a couple things happening. First of all, I feel like the Empress is coming into her own, and I don't feel like it's all about love. Though I do feel like love's part of it because I feel like that may be where my thoughts go. Um, but I feel like whatever's been blocking the feminine in her dreams, I feel like she's got the power to put an end to that. And it looks like she uses that power. Now, how long does that take? To each their own, right? And that may be a little bit of what Patience is talking about. It's going to take different people, different times. This person's going to set themselves free when they find the guts to set themselves free. And Temper's being so close to that. Like, I don't know how they couldn't feel it. And again, I feel like there's a connection beyond. There just is. All right. I'm going to take Mother Mary over. It's so interesting. Like, where did those cards go? They're not here. You know what? I'll find him afterwards, probably. All right. So I'm going to take Mother Mary over this reading. Um, I don't even think I'm going to like sit here and go back over it because I feel like it's so clear. And I've been doing some podcasts lately, which I go by the Rambling Psychic, by the way. Um, but I've been doing some podcasts. I'm talking about twin flames, what to expect, and trying to put as much information out there for you as I can. But some of it is done through the podcast. All right, quiet. Mother Mary's like, Sandy, be quiet, quiet. I go into peaceful silence and I listen. Man, it's exactly what I feel is happening. I go into peaceful silence and I listen. Prayer. Instead of worrying, I pray about this situation to bring about real solutions. So instead of worrying, I pray about this situation to bring about real solutions. And I say, Amen. And I have to say, Mother Mary certainly quieted my voice. But it feels right. So I'm going to let that be, guys. I love you. Always such an interesting reading to do. And remember, each in their own divine timing, each in their own divine timing. But wow, I feel like what a blessing. So to let that be. I love you. I'll see you next time at our table. Bye bye.